Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Wait a second. I don't think I'm dressed right. There you go. Now I'm dressed for the occasion. Today, we have a very special guest, my friend and colleague on the LVGA 50, president of the Vegas Golden Knights, Kerry Bubolz. Kerry, thank you for being on the podcast.
I mean, we're happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
So I get to know you a little better because we run into each other a lot of times, and every time I do, I'm always noticed how warm of a person you are, how friendly, how passionate about the job. And today I think I want some of our listeners to get some of that. So let's start about your journey to Las Vegas. Tell us first, where were you born? Where did you go to school, college? Maybe your first job, but most importantly, how did you get into hockey and how did you get to the Vegas Golden Knights?
Well, thanks for asking. By the way, I've never actually played hockey, so I can barely skate, but that doesn't mean you can't be qualified to run a sports organization. I grew up actually in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so that's my hometown. I was actually born in Newton, Kansas. My mom was a farm girl in Kansas, and we ended up in Tulsa, so that's where I grew up. Went to college at Oklahoma State University, so I was a marketing business major and got my first job actually with the local baseball team in Tulsa. So they had a AA baseball team called the Tulsa Drillers, and my first job was essentially the assistant to the manager of concessions. So I was the assistant concessions manager. And it was a great way to get your foot in the door, learn the business, learn the operational side of what we do. And then my journey really took through a lot of different places. So Davenport, Iowa, with another minor league baseball team, Wichita Falls, Texas, with a Continental Basketball Association team. Then my first time in Cleveland, Ohio, with an International Hockey League team. And then I got my first job in the NHL. So I was in Carolina. And then I actually went back to Cleveland, and I was with the NBA team, the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. We had a multifaceted company. We had the NBA team, but we also launched an American Hockey League franchise that we owned and operated. We launched an NBA Development League team, which is in concert with our team in the NBA in Canton, Ohio, that I was responsible for. And then we actually had an Arena Football League team in Cleveland, in addition to running the arena and all of the events and concerts and activities. But I always had, I loved working in the NBA. It's a great business. It's a very well-run league. They really are best in class in a lot of what they do, very global in terms of their appeal. But I always loved the game of hockey. About 14 years of my time prior to that had been at least touching the game. It was 6 years where I was directly responsible in Cleveland with the Lumberjacks, but I was overseeing our team that we owned and operated when I was with the Cavaliers, and I just always loved the game. I just fell in love with the game, and I thought if I was ever going to leave Cleveland, it would have to be for an NHL opportunity. And when the expansion team came up in Las Vegas, I was fortunate enough to be asked to be a part of a process to interview for the role with Bill Foley, who's our owner, and he ultimately offered me the job. So I've been here now in Las Vegas since October of 2016. So coming up on about 6.5 years, and it's been amazing.
Well, we're lucky to have you in our community, Kerry. And before I keep going, I have to ask you this question. So did you get to meet LeBron when you were in Cleveland?
Well, we would be in and around LeBron. We didn't have a lot of social time with LeBron. Most of my time was spent, how do we manage kind of the PR side? He had his team of people that were a part of his journey. And, we were responsible for making sure to maximize that opportunity. He's a special young talent. When he came into the organization, I literally got there 2 months before we drafted him in 2003. So we had 7 years with him. We had a lot of success on the court. He ultimately decided to go on to Miami. I stayed with the organization, and then he came back in 2014 and was there 4 more years. And I was there 2 of those 4. But after we won the NBA championship in 2016, literally it wasn't 6 weeks later that this opportunity came up, and I just felt like, maybe it's time for me to to move on to a new great opportunity here in the Valley. And like I said, it's just been an incredible almost 7 years now.
Yeah. And we're happy to have you, Kerry. And we'll talk more about, I think, the future later in the interview. But let's start with the LVGA,
Right.
Our regional development agency. They're out there selling our region, trying to bring companies to complement our economy. But now professional sports, I remember the day where our professional sports was the UNLV Running Rebels at the Thomas and Mack.
Right.
And so, but now professional sports plays such a big role in our economy. Again, thanks to our Vegas-born Vegas Golden Knights that have now expanded to the Henderson Silver Knights. But we also have the Raiders. We also have the Aviators. We also have the soccer team, the Lights. It's just amazing. And so I think knowing we also have issues in our region, as you know, there's water issues, there's land issues, there's talent issues. So what kind of companies would you like to see the LVGA recruiting and bringing to our region to complement what we going on here?
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting question. I think, first of all, just one interesting point. Back in 2016, as the team was about to be approved, so June of 2016, the National Hockey League approved the Golden Knights. There was one professional sports organization in the market, our AAA baseball team, the Aviators. And here we sit today, again, less than 7 years after that point. And we have 10 professional sports franchises. You referenced several of them as part of your comments. And so that's really an incredible amount of teams. We know that Major League Baseball is a possibility here in our near future with the Oakland A's potentially relocating. There's been a lot of rumors about Major League Soccer, a lot of rumors about the National Basketball Association. So it really is incredible how things have evolved in a very short period of time. And the narrative around Las Vegas was really about entertainment, right? Gaming and entertainment. And I really think now you can put sports in there and almost create a new narrative that's focused on sports and entertainment. And we really believe we've got something special. But, getting back to your question, at the end of the day, Las Vegas as a market size is about 2.4 million people. We're 40th largest in terms of U.S. television markets. So on a relative basis, we're fairly small compared to other cities around the country. And so what types of companies would I like to see? Understanding some of the challenges that you referenced, I really would like to see more Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 companies of all types to consider our region because it has so much to offer. So it's hard to say, well, everybody would love to have Amazon, right? But that may not be a reality based on their current setup up in Seattle. But I really believe that if you're a company, and let's say you've got a strong presence on the East Coast and you're looking to diversify and have maybe a Western region in terms of a headquarters in the West, or maybe you're looking to grow international in terms of Asia and Australia and areas in kind of the Far East, maybe this would be a great point to kind of go west outside of the U.S. if you're a company, or vice versa. If you're a global company looking to have a presence in the United States, I think this is a great place to really kind of plant your flag. All of the things that we know, right, and love about why we live here in this community, the fantastic weather, which is amazing, the lifestyle, which I don't think there's any other city in America like it. The ability to have affordable housing and still make a good wage. I think there's a lot of great things that our community has to offer, and it's just a matter of, again, working with that, LVGEA and others to find those right companies, make sure we have the right incentives to get them here, and then when they do decide to take a look, how do we make sure that we tell the full story of who we are? We're not just those 4.5 miles on the Las Vegas Boulevard, which are great, by the way, but we've got so much more to offer here in the Valley. The other activities in terms of outside sports, which is just amazing. The other thing I think is really underrated, but the ability to move throughout our community without significant traffic. I can get literally anywhere I want to go in 20 to 30 minutes. And that's just not the case in other major metropolitan areas. And you almost take it for granted. And when you do have that 30-minute ride, and maybe there is a little bit of traffic coming back from Henderson or whatever. You're like, oh, darn. But then you try to put it in perspective.
Yes.
My commute in Cleveland every single day was 30 minutes. That was the good day, right? The bad day was 40, 45 minutes. And I didn't live that far outside of the downtown area. And so, I think we really have a lot of great things to offer. And it's just a matter of targeting those right companies that make sense, and then ultimately providing them the right environment to be successful, and a political environment that I think is literally the best in the country. I didn't know Clark County and the executives that run Clark County. I didn't know the city of Henderson and the city council of Henderson and the Las Vegas city council. But now that I've got the chance to meet them, so many of the key folks that you need to have great economic development and introduce, you need a can-do attitude, and their attitude is very much about, hey, if you want to come to we'll find a way to make it happen. And that's what you want. You don't want a bunch of red tape. And so I just think we've got a great environment.
You know what just happened here, Kerry, is that next time Tina goes to a recruitment trip, she's going to take you with her. Because I think you just sold us right there. Anybody want to come here?
She's a lot smarter than me, so she's great.
Tina's great. Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of people I want to come back to. You're right. Commissioner Jim Gibson at the Clark County, Mayor Romero and Henderson,
right?
All great fans of the Vegas Golden Knights and the Henderson Silver Knights. And so you're right. I think obviously you've gotten to know them, and there's other places where you don't get to know your elected officials.
Right.
And here we're fortunate to be able, we're small enough still, right?
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned LeBron again. I didn't know he was going to be a focus of our thing. It's unplanned. But as you were talking about the future, I know I've read the articles where they're talking about sites out there on the Las Vegas Strip heading south by the M Resort, about a potential basketball arena and a potential basketball owner who's got a name that maybe rhymes with Ebron. And so the future is bright, as you said, we've had the commissioner of the NBA here now. So yes, I think all those things are good. And they all reflect in something that another name we were talking about, I think, before starting the cameras was an old colleague of mine. When I knew him back at 20 years ago at MGM, he was a VP, later a president, but now he heads up the organization, at MGM. And so I think, he said in one of his posts just recently, Las Vegas is no longer just the entertainment capital of the world. This is Bill Hornbuckle, but Las Vegas is now the sports and entertainment capital of the world.
Right.
Your comments.
Yeah, no. And again, I think a lot of times if you have the substance of a statement like that, which we do, again, 10 professional sports, and that doesn't include all of the other things. Again, we're going to host for the first time ever the 2024 Super Bowl here in Las Vegas. We've got close to a 10-year agreement with Formula One. So beginning this November, we'll have our first race. Again, this is the most significant global racing league that's out there. And so they're going to be here in our community each year, every year for the next decade at a minimum, right? And then you throw in NASCAR and the two races we have with that. Then you throw in the National Finals Rodeo. You throw in UNLV and all the great collegiate sports that they have. And I'm missing a lot of things when you think about all of the sports that happens here in the Valley. One of my favorite weeks was 3 weeks ago. We had 5 conference college basketball tournaments happening right here in the Valley, all in the same week.
Amazing.
And that just doesn't happen anywhere. And so it truly is the sports and entertainment capital of the world. And so how do we continue to build off of that? Make sure the infrastructure to support those organizations is in place. And then ultimately start to find those other businesses that it can even complement. And that gets back to the other economic piece of this. It's not just the teams and the business organizations and the players. It's those complementary organizations that help support sports in a community like ours.
And Kerry, before I go to the next question, I want to again close up by saying, if I don't, Mark Davis is going to be mad, but the Las Vegas Aces are our first pro team to win a championship.
Yeah, amazing.
So, yeah. So we're all happy about that. And but let's get back to the Vegas Golden Knights, because most people might not know that, and I get to know because I travel with your HR head of HR, Darlene Navarro, which you were gracious enough to let us have her here at Workforce Connection. She's one of our board members now, helping, again, using her knowledge of the labor market and the HR, the talent needs of employers like you to help us shape our investments. So most people think about a hockey team and think that all you hire are hockey players and coaching staff, but I've walked your building and I saw a lot of different occupations. So I guess the question, and this applies to, again, not, to your point, the Raiders and the Lights and the Aces and everybody else that will be here. And so what kind of other occupations is there in an organization like the Vegas Golden Knights?
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Jaime, because if you think about our organization, we've got the 23 players that are on the ice on our NHL roster. There's probably about 12 other what I'd call more very team-oriented support staff. So equipment managers, trainers, physical therapists, massage therapists, nutritionists, but those are all very specific to the team. And then you have, of course, like our general manager, president of hockey operations, and some of our hockey personnel. But that's a small part of what the overall organization is. The vast majority of the people that we've hired since I got here, I was employee number 12, by the way.
Wow.
Since we got here back in 2016, are to run the business side of who we are and what we do. And that's not to mention the hundreds of people that have been hired to work event nights at T-Mobile Arena for our games. But to answer your question, getting back specifically, if you think about really any business, now they may be weighted in different areas, but we're no different than a local bank, or we're no different than any other organization. We have a sales organization. We have a marketing organization. We have to have financial people. We have to have human resource line mates, as we call them, within our group. We've got folks to focus on our content and how we go to market with our content strategy. Probably the more unique roles would be, we put on a big show at Vegas Golden Knights games with our video production. Mm-hmm. So we do have about 10 people that are just in the kind of the video editing and production side of what we do with the Golden Knights. We have public relations. And so all of those roles that you would see in most organizations are very similar to the roles that we have in our organization. And matter of fact, the vast majority of the people that we've hired came from Las Vegas. I think about people that work in finance at a gaming facility. What they do, it makes them even more qualified than what we would hire someone who just worked in sports finance, because their knowledge of the consumer and data is really critical. And so yeah, we've hired a lot of people locally. There's very few roles where we had to go outside the market because that talent just didn't exist here in the Valley. And, all told, when I think about the 7 different companies that we've now become between our 4 sports teams and our 3 facilities that we own and operate, you're talking about 300 plus full-time people, plus literally a couple of thousand part-time people that are a part of the overall operation of the Foley Entertainment Group that's focused on sports and entertainment.
Yeah, that paints a great picture because, as you said, only 50 of them are there in the ice, 23 wear uniforms, the other ones are support staff, but then you have more than 300 supporting the organization. Yeah. So that paints an accurate picture. And you said you were employee number 12, and I'd love to know Lucky and Chance, right? They were employees, probably
they were a little further along. Yeah.
Of course, they're the mascots of the right. Vegas Golden Knights and Henderson Silver Knights. I live in Henderson, just walking distance from the arena. I still remember the night, I can't remember how long ago it was, but I went to the Henderson Chambers for a meeting where the building was going to be approved. And there was a whole thing about the height and I think people the very little people that I think maybe didn't understand the value it had now probably do, because you gave examples. It's made that community vibrant and there's the energy. But most importantly, again, I think the Dollar Loan Center, Lifeguard Arena, National Up Here City Arena, and of course the T-Mobile was there already. But these amazing additions to the community let people like me, feel a part of something bigger, and we go and rally around our team, support our teams, and so. Tell me, but there's this other piece that I see also when I go to Lifeguard or the others, hundreds of kids
Yeah,
on
the best
days.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little about the impact that this investment has made on the youth of our community.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, what you've identified, Jaime, is really what to me is the most important part of what sports does, and it really it connects the community in a lot of different ways. And as I think back to the 6 years or 6 seasons now that we've had, some of my favorite interactions with fans have been them telling me stories about how they had a unique connection with either the organization or maybe new relationships that they built through the team that they didn't otherwise have.
Mm.
If you think about the Valley, for those that maybe are newer to this community, and there's a lot of them, right? When you really think back to the rapid growth that we've had from a population perspective, there's a lot of folks that kind of like me grew up somewhere else, right? I grew up in Tulsa. My professional life was spent mostly in Cleveland. At 50 years old, I come to Las Vegas, and so you don't have a lot of relationships. But through my role with the team, I was able to meet just a lot of tremendous people. But I heard a lot of similar stories where, because of the team, maybe it was the section of seats that they sat in, and they got to know all the people around them, and now they socialize even when there's not a Golden Knights game. Or maybe there was that neighbor who said, you know what, I'm going to have some people that I don't know over just to watch the Golden Knights game when the team was on the road. And so I started to think, it's almost like a golden thread that starts to weave throughout a community. And the team is the one common element of that bond and that thread. And really, I just enjoyed those stories. And it really is the most important part of what we do. And then getting back to the youth. Look, at the end of the day, if kids play hockey, that's great. What we want more than anything is we want kids to be active, right?
Mm.
We want them out and about. We have an indoor football team. We want kids playing flag football and normal tackle football when they get age appropriate. We've got our G League basketball team now with the new partnership with the NBA. We want kids playing youth basketball. Obviously, hockey's our primary business, and so we needed to grow the game. It was almost non-existent. There was some youth hockey here in the market, but it was almost non-existent. And now here we are again in less than six years. The amount of growth that's happened. So you could count up to about 300 or 400 kids throughout the entire state of Nevada that played some form of hockey at an organized level. Or what they call learn to skate or learn to play, some of the earlier layers of the development model. And now that number is over 6,000. So, it's like, I'm not sure, is that 2,000%?
Wow.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
And that's just where we are today. And it's still growing and evolving. Matter of fact, for the first time in our 6 years, we had more kids register for our spring, what we call our house leagues, than we had for our fall house leagues. So fall and winter are your typical high impact areas for hockey because of baseball. There's a lot of great baseball here in the Valley, right? When you think about high school baseball and the number of players that are even at the major league level, we've got more kids now. And so what they're doing is maybe they're not playing baseball this spring, or maybe they're doing both. But the fact that those numbers have grown to where they've grown, it blows me away. And those are future fans, right? We're getting them introduced to the game. Again, they're learning to skate. They're learning to play. They're learning the teamwork that's associated with the game. They're joining our house leagues, and they're starting to go up through our development model. And ultimately, as we kind of look out, 10 more years down the road, 12 more years, 15 years down the road, whatever it takes, at some point, we're going to have a young player from this market who's going to get drafted into the National Hockey League. And that'll be our first one, but it won't be our last. And there'll be a really unique, kind of interesting story as we evolve forward. And really excited about what's happening at the youth levels. But we need more facilities. So we're thinking about the Valley. Again, we've got one in Summerlin. We've got one facility in Henderson. But we're thinking about where's that next stop so we can continue to grow the game, because there's only so much so there's only so much ice time that's available in one building. And with the growth that we've had, we've kind of outgrown the 2 facilities that we have. So we're thinking about where that next stop's going to be.
So I'm going to come back to that point in just a second as we close off the podcast. But 2 things from your comments that I loved. I'm a guy that gets every jersey,
That's right.
every sweater that I can. But I love when you said the golden thread that unites our community. There's a T-shirt in there somewhere. And you and I need to go in partners on that. But the other thing you said that is really true is, I never thought about it, but you're right. The games create not just opportunities to engage with our friends, our neighbors. I want to share this with you, and you probably already know it, but business deals are happening at the arena.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hearing small businesses connect me. I do business in the arena. You see me bring partners and small businesses are connecting with contractors that they didn't know, vendors that they didn't know. So there's a way to think about it. The organization is helping our economic development engine as well.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely. It's not just about families coming together to enjoy sports. It really is a place for business and a lot more, which is really, like I said, it's really been one of the funner things that I've really enjoyed about what the Knights have brought to the organization, to the community. My last quick story when I was in Cleveland, Cleveland for a long time had such a negative narrative about the mistake on the lake and all of the things that had happened. They had a lot of sports, what I call near misses, right? They lost Game 7 of a World Series to the Florida Marlins in the 9th inning, right? What happened against the Cubs back in 2016. They had what they call the shot and the drive and the fumble and all these near misses in basketball and football. So we finally win an NBA title. Well, prior to that, people were almost afraid to say they were from Cleveland, Ohio. It was almost like they'd kind of slump over and like they bought into the narrative that they were the mistake on the lake. And the confidence that came out of winning that NBA title for our community. I just love to see that, because now all of a sudden people are like, hey, we're from Cleveland. We're world champ. We're a championship city. And that's why I'm so excited about our ability, because I've already seen the impact that we've had. But if we could just take that next step and get to that next point where we can win a Stanley Cup, it would be so special.
I agree, and I will be there in the arena with you when that happens. Because,
That's right.
I remember the first year how amazing it was, that ride, and so I can't wait till that repeats. And like you said, take that final step. But again, like you said, I think not just me, the community loves the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights were Vegas born. Not that we, again, teams move, but this is ours. This is our team from the beginning, and then of course the Henderson Silver Knights, because home means Henderson.
Right.
I got both T-shirts, by the way. You know that. But it's given our community the reason, again, to feel united. And you started to mention, and that was my final question. If you could, I know you don't have a lot of details, but tell us a little bit more about that process when you say there's next things coming in our community with the organization. You hinted at the fact that we need more facilities. What else is in your mind about the future, 2, 4, 6, 8 years from now, for the Vegas Golden Knights?
I think first and foremost, we formed the Foley Entertainment Group. We've seen the impact of what the investments that Bill Foley and our investor group have made in the community, and we've seen how they've fit within our core business, again, of NHL hockey. And so I think you'll see continued expansion. We're thinking about, well, what other programming might work at the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson that's sports related. When we built that facility, we said 3 things. We want to be about Henderson, we want to be about sports, and we want to be about families. So anything that kind of fits within that, that might require some investment in people to bring it to life, we're prepared to do. We know youth hockey is a core part of our mission, and so for us to continue to grow youth hockey, we've got to add more facilities. Our original kind of 10-year plan was 4 or 5 facilities throughout the valley.
Wow.
Again, we have 2 right now. And so we're thinking about North Las Vegas. We're thinking about West Henderson as kind of the next couple of stops in our journey with facilities. And again, facilities can be for hockey. They can be for figure skating. They can be for other adult programming. And then also for other parts of our business, sponsorship, retail, Bill Foley's restaurant business under the Glacier Restaurant Group. And so that's kind of that next phase for those types of events, or those types of facilities. And then I think the last part is, what does it look like relative to the future of major professional sports? At some point in time, the NBA is going to consider whether they want to expand or not. And if they're going to expand to the Valley, is that something we want to be a part of? And so we're going through that process to think through, what would that look like? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of interest in terms of this market with a situation like that. So we're thinking about what would that look like. At one point, we were thinking about Major League Soccer. Ultimately, that league decided that they're probably going to go with a different ownership group. So our owner said, you know what, maybe there's a different opportunity for me. In December, we closed on a transaction in literally the biggest sports league in the world, the English Premier Soccer League.
Yes.
And we acquired the Bournemouth Cherries of the English Premier League. And so as we think about the Premier League and the development of the world's best soccer players, of course, over there it's football, so you got to say it the right way.
Yes.
But we see a potential for maybe there's an academy here in the U.S. that we own and operate that ultimately develops some of the best U.S. players to potentially send them over to Europe as part of a multi-faceted kind of development model, because the Premier League is the best of the best of the best of the best. Nothing against Major League Soccer, but the best players in the world are not in Major League Soccer. They're in the English Premier League. And so how do you feed that environment with some of the best talent? And so we're thinking about what that might look like. And could that home be here in Las Vegas as part of what we're doing now with football as part of our Foley Entertainment Group as well?
Wow. Kerry, I think you just dropped the tastiest tidbits in our 100 episodes right there. Thank you. That was awesome. It paints a great picture again. I'm grateful for the Vegas Golden Knights. I know our community is because of all the things you just explained, but I'm also grateful that I got to know you, that we professionally our paths cross often, and I think we have to do this again. I think in a few months we'll bring you back to update us on some of these amazing things that you're working on. Is that fair?
Happy to do it. Loved it. Love it. So thanks for the time today.
Kerry, thank you for being with us here today. So that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope you join us at the next one. Until then, stay safe. Okay, Kerry, thank you for staying over to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. The first piece is called Your Favorites. I'm going to give you a few categories, and you're going to pick your favorite one. Your favorite color?
Gold.
Favorite food?
Steak.
Favorite drink?
Vodka.
Favorite
Martini.
Vodka martini. Love it. Dry?
Filthy dirty.
All right. Favorite movie?
Something About Mary.
Oh, favorite book?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump is better.
Favorite comedy, Something About Mary.
All right.
Favorite movies, Forrest Gump. Yeah.
Got it. Favorite book?
Good to Great.
Ooh, I love that. Favorite day of the week?
Friday.
Favorite holiday?
July 4th.
And I think it's going to be the Cowboys, but from Oklahoma State. But favorite college sports team?
Yeah, Oklahoma State
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the second segment is called Tough Choices. So I'm going to give you two choices here. You get to pick one. You ready?
Ready.
An ice rink, indoor or outdoor?
Indoor.
Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
If you vacation, do you like to drive there or fly there?
Fly there.
Once you get there, is it a hotel or an Airbnb?
Hotel.
In the morning, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
In the evening, wine or beer?
Wine.
Especially it's from the Foley Vineyards.
That's right. I've got 26 of them to choose from.
Yes. Cooking at home or eating at a restaurant?
Cooking at home.
Would you rather owe money or owe a favor?
Owe money or owe a favor? Owe money.
Okay, and it's getting tougher. Here we go. One of the tough ones. Actions or words?
Actions.
Justice or grace?
Grace.
Whew, you made it through the second segment. And this is the last section here, Kerry. It's called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 90% of a sentence you're going to finish. Are you ready?
Yes.
If Kerry could visit any place in the world, it would be
Sydney, Australia.
Love it. The best part of living in Southern Nevada is
The weather.
Kerry's favorite thing about his job is
Game night.
Ooh, yes. If Kerry could travel back in time, he would travel to
The 1980s.
in the near future, the Vegas Golden Knights will win.
The Stanley Cup.
Yay. Jaime's coolest VGK hockey sweater is
The one he was wearing today during the podcast.
3 words that describe Kerry are
3 words that describe Kerry. Calm, people focused, and loves his kids.
I couldn't agree more. The last question, Kerry, doing the WC podcast here today with us was
A blast.
awesome. We want to thank you again for being here today with us, Kerry.
Anytime. Thank you.